Greetings my peeps, I am John the Verbose, and this video is my YTpaganChallenge video for week 29 on do you use crystals, if so, how and why. To begin with that, I don't really use crystals a whole lot, and when I do, I stick to their base correspondences, and though it's not a critical part of my practice, but it is something that I do enjoy. These two pieces of amethyst that are sitting on my altar, it's just, this one's a rough bed and this one is just a rough chunk of amethyst. I got this from a mine in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Actually, both of these were from the same mine. So it's really nice. It was really close to the Lake Superior, and being in Minnesota, I feel like there's definitely a connection between Minnesota and Ontario. It's called our national border, but I mean the whole area seems very similar. I mean, the geology is similar to northeastern Minnesota, where I lived for 4 years, and so even though Thunder Bay is like a whole world away for me, basically, well, a whole country away, it's not that far physically, but so these, I don't know, it's this closeness that gives me a connection to these stones as much as it's like what I use them for. But like I said, it's not a major part of my personal practice. If I am using crystals or just stones in general, it's typically to make something from them. Like this one, I have a labradorite pendant with the druid sigil carved into it, and so here I have another another piece of labradorite that it's a little bit on the thick side to make a pendant out of, but it's like I like to use this one to kind of trance out by staring into the fracture planes and the labradorescence. And as for carving sigils into things, I've done that before. I've got a few more pieces that I'm going to carve into. This is just a piece of ugly quartz. It's not really milky quartz. It's not really a smoky quartz. It's just it's definitely a quartz. It's just not that. It needs something done to it. So I'm going to carve a druid sigil into that. I might burn out my Dremel in doing so, because I've done so before. I got to be careful with the stones that I carve sigils into, especially keeping a close eye at the Mohs hardness scale. And so I have this piece, this really nice piece of, I pronounce it lapis lazuli. I know there's so many different pronunciations of it, and I've heard them all. So this one will be nice, and I'll take extra care on it. And then this one already has a hole drilled through it. There's a place in just south of Minneapolis, and it's called the Enchanted Rock Garden, and that place has more boxes of rocks than they have shelves to put them on. I mean, they literally have like the inside of box lids stacked up on each other, like 4 high on the floor underneath tables, and the tables have stuff stacked on them as well. And so there's so much energy in that shop too. It's just, I can't spend too much time in there. but this is just a piece of orange calcite, and orange calcite is really soft, and so it's really nice to carve sigils into. And I've done one of these before, and I do have an older video of it. I carved a druid sigil on it and cast it into the Lyman Lakes at Carleton College as a votive offering to Sirona.
O Sirona, queen of the 7 great floodwaters, princess of the 70 times 7 rivers, mistress even of the Canon and this its tributary, accept this sacrifice as a token of my devotion and grant me peace. I pray that this thy sacrifice may be found acceptable in thy sight, as unto thee I commend it. So be it.
Moving on to keep this video short, I have my black obsidian sphere, and which is fun to use for scrying, and I've tried a few times, and I need a heck of a lot of practice. And I mean, this thing's almost completely black and almost completely flawless. And the only way that I know it's not just a piece of black glass is that there is a fracture plane on it that wraps around like a third of it, and it's so hard to find. But when you look at it, it's like you're like, okay, that is obsidian. That's not, even though obsidian and glass are almost the same thing, it's like when you see the fracture plane, it's like you know. So but yeah, so yeah, that is really the extent of my use of crystals. I do have others that I don't particularly showcase, and they'll sometimes make the rounds on the surface of my altar. Admittedly, for the most part, aesthetic purposes or sentimental value. And I think I've covered both of those aspects as we've gone through this video, so I will end it here. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.